Hello, everybody. Good morning. Weather's still hanging in there. Today, I want to talk about small language models, SLMs, small language models. So, let's first talk about what SLMs are, what small language models are, and why they're important. So, as opposed to LLMs, which you may be familiar with, large language models, small language models are smaller, more efficient language models. They're considered compact and using fewer parameters. They have fewer parameters than what you would consider a large language model like ChatGPT. And they're considered more efficient and compact for this reason and have a smaller footprint and require less processing power. One way to think about it is these as the right size for education. Basically, a language model which is downsized from the larger language model for efficiency and for ultimately cost effectiveness in the long run. So let's dive in and talk a little bit about how these potentially could be brought into education, why they're even a topic, and things for us to think about. So education is always on the verge of trying to do things more efficiently due to budgeting or constraints within the system. So the topics come up around small language models, whether or not they are a good fit for schools. SLMs, obviously smaller, cheaper to run, but there is less computing power behind them. And with fewer parameters, who knows if that's what people are going to be used to when you start to compare the use of AI. So server sizes, if they want to choose to run their own language model. Also, small language models also run better on edge devices. So small language models are also running better on edge devices. And if you're part of a sustainability goal, small language models are considered to have a smaller footprint. So if you're part of a sustainability model, these are considered to have a smaller footprint. So some thoughts around SLMs in schools is that with their smaller footprint, there's less of a need for a large cloud subscription or implementation utilizing cloud, less of a need for a large cloud-based subscription to support AI initiatives. And they can also be deployed locally, so saving time in the long run. And there's going to be open source SLMs, which is going to reduce licensing fees in the future. With the integration of AI into systems. So a few of the controls that could be in place with small language models to help support data privacy is that since they can be under local control and on a local server, there's no need for student data in the cloud, which is a selling point considering student data being held by third parties or in the cloud. There's the risk for breach. And this enables it to be regulated better with FERPA and COPPA. And this aligns better with FERPA and GDPR for data protection for students. And additionally, any local privacy laws. It will empower districts, if they choose to have more autonomy over the use of their AI. Now, the small language models are also going to empower schools to have more local control over AI to support their own data, their own curriculum. So with small language models, the ability to control. So with small language models, the ability to have support for AI, which supports local school content, institution information, and their own curriculum will be possible. And it's going to offer a lot more control than services, which are larger language models, which would be available off the shelf. So how would this impact the classroom? So what would an SLM look like in the classroom? From the classroom perspective, a feature like a FAQ bot or a bot based on the school's data or supporting the student tutoring, basically the opportunity for instant tutoring or an FAQ bot for students is an example of a classroom application that these could provide. There could also be teaching assistants for classroom or grading support, and also assistance with content differentiation and language support. In higher education, some of the administrative tasks that are more repetitive could be reduced and automated. You could also have more personalized academic feedback at a larger scale. And in academic programs like computer science, there can be labs hosted locally by the school. There could be AI and research labs specifically for computer science programs in academic departments. So let's talk a little bit about the limitations of SLMs. So obviously they are smaller. They're going to be less nuanced with fewer parameters. So the responses that you get from an SLM are going to be less robust than that from a larger language model. So they're going to need to be trained more specifically for the local content. I think there'll be the need for retraining and fine-tuning over time, of course, to get familiar. And it won't be the best solution for open-ended creative work, where you need creative responses to push thinking. In terms of some of the adoption that's currently happening with these types of models, Stanford's currently using a program called Alpaca, and Microsoft's using a program called Phi. And the research currently is showing that researchers are currently showing efficiency with the use of these tools in these environments. And there's a lot of interest in SLM communities. There's a lot of interest in open source SLM communities to support these types of projects. So if you're interested in getting started with the use of an SLM, you want to try to maybe get started with you may want to develop a proof of concept using a model like Mistral or Phi2. Collaborate with someone you know is using one, like a local university, and district IT teams should consider looking into them as an option, but also consider how they can deploy them securely. Data security first in mind with that process. So I think this is an interesting topic. I think it's the future in many ways is AI to support a lot of different tasks within organizations. And with the footprint needing to be smaller in some respects, an SLM may be the right choice. I do think with the limitation on responses due to the smaller computing power and footprint, I do think many people are very used to large language models and the results they get towards being able to ask bigger questions, get deeper results. But I do think there's value in considering how this type of AI can be used within institutions to better support people with known tasks, with known information within the organization, within the institution. So it'll be interesting to see how these small language models can be packaged to support and also be designed to be more nuanced with individual institutions, and what types of projects can help people onboard one and use one within their environment safely and securely, and see if it can make a benefit in the long run and bring more use of effective AI and artificial intelligence technology to the day-to-day function without the fear of losing the data and without the fear of security issues or having inaccurate responses. So thanks for checking out the video. Hopefully you found the topic interesting. Please give a like and subscribe, and hope you have a great day, and look forward to checking with you soon.